Like and subscribe if you want more stories from beyond the stars. Now, let me tell you what really happened near the black horizon. The alarms began 5 minutes before I opened my eyes. A low, pulsing hum. Not the sharp blare of a hull breach or fire, but something slower, deeper, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. I blinked through the condensation on my visor. The cabin lights had dimmed to a faint red glow. Through the viewport, the stars had stretched into thin lines, blues and whites smearing into the black, like wet paint dragged across glass. We were close, too close. Helios core, report status. I croaked. My throat felt dry, metallic. The ship's AI answered, its voice low and calm, almost human. Core temperature stable. Gravity shear increasing. Crew stasis interrupted due to telemetry anomaly. Telemetry anomaly. That was the understatement of the century. I sat up in the crash couch, harness biting into my shoulders. The rest of the crew were still sealed in their pods. 5 of them glowing faintly blue. Captain Juno lay inside the central capsule, her breathing steady. I glanced at the mission clock on my wrist display. We'd been in induced sleep for 41 days. Helios, define anomaly. Gravitational gradient variance outside predictive models. Source unknown.
Approximate distance 0.34 au point.
Outside the model? I frowned. You mean the black hole changed?
No, Lieutenant Vega.
The black hole is constant. The space around it is not. When I first joined Project Black Horizon, I thought I understood danger. I'd flown through magnetic storms around Jupiter, seen solar flares tear ships apart. But this was different. We weren't skimming the edge of chaos. We were falling toward it. The Artemis 3 wasn't built to survive inside the event horizon. Nothing was. Our mission was to orbit just beyond the photon sphere, collect live gravitational readings, and stream them back via quantum relay to Earth. A one-way data link. But if Helios was right, our orbit wasn't what physics said it should be. I unsealed my harness and pushed toward the main console. The movement felt sluggish. The artificial gravity was fluctuating. My hands trembled as I brought up the sensor logs. The screen filled with a storm of numbers, fluctuating energy signatures, gravitational harmonics, distortions that made no sense. At the center of the feed, the black hole loomed. Not a hole, not really, more like a wound in space. The accretion disk blazed around it, spinning faster than light itself, a burning halo of shredded matter and plasma. But inside that ring, there was something else. A dark sphere, faintly illuminated from within. Stable, geometrically perfect. Helios, I whispered. Magnify the core center. The view zoomed in. The resolution degraded, pixels dissolving into static. But the outline remained smooth, defined, deliberate. It was a structure. The AI's voice softened, as if it too felt awe. Gravitational stability within the inner accretion field exceeds theoretical limits. Estimated artificial containment ratio, 87%. Artificial. I turned, almost laughing. You're saying someone built this? Correction. Something built this. The air tasted sharp, dry. I tried to steady my breathing, but my pulse was pounding. If Helios was right, something or someone had engineered a field inside the event horizon. A pocket of stability in a region where time itself collapsed. That shouldn't be possible. Couldn't be possible. And yet the data didn't lie. I brought up the crew status overlay. One by one, the pods hummed and began to warm. Cryofluid drained through silver veins into the floor vents. The glass lids retracted, releasing a soft mist of cold vapor. Captain Juno was first to wake. Her eyes opened with that soldier's clarity. No disorientation, no hesitation. What's our status, Vega? We're still in stable orbit, I said, though that word, stable, felt like a joke now. Telemetry's off the charts. Helios detected an object inside the event horizon. Her brow furrowed. A mass.
No.
A construct. The captain didn't move for several seconds. Behind her, Commander Ortiz and Specialist Min stirred from their pods, still groggy. "Visual confirmation?" she asked. I nodded and pushed the feed to the main holodisplay. The image hovered in the air, a black sphere within blackness, faintly lit from within, like an eye half closed. Every few seconds, a pulse of light rippled across its surface. Gravitational waves translated into visible spectrum. Ortiz swore softly. "Jesus Christ, that's inside the horizon?" "Yes," I said, "and it's not collapsing." Juno exhaled slowly. "Then we're not just observing physics anymore. We're observing engineering." By the third hour, everyone was awake and running diagnostics. The Artemis 3S instruments weren't designed for something like this, but they tried. The readings grew stranger the deeper we looked. Coherent magnetic flux lines where none should exist, quantized gravitational pulses like coded signals. Could it be a natural phenomenon? Min asked, voice muffled through her rebreather. Like a quantum resonance? Helios answered before I could. Negative. The field patterns repeat with algorithmic precision. 4,096 cycle intervals. A sequence. Ortiz leaned over my shoulder. That's binary structuring. Someone's controlling it. Or it's automated, I said quietly. Self-sustaining. Maybe something left behind. Captain Juno folded her arms. Left behind by who dash? No one answered. Hours passed. The hum of the ship mixed with the sound of our breathing, the gentle vibration of stabilizers correcting microdrifts. Outside, the stars bent into impossible arcs. It felt like we were looking at the universe through water. The deeper we scanned, the more the data rebelled. Relativity, quantum mechanics, entropy, every law began to fracture the closer we got to the object. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was looking back. At 1900 hours ship time, Juno called us to the main bay. The lights dimmed as the holographic projection of the black sphere rotated above the table, glowing faintly blue. Helios, overlay energy distribution, she said. A lattice of lines formed across the hologram, interconnected nodes, geometric, almost architectural. Min blinked. That's a pattern. Ortiz grinned nervously. You thinking what I'm thinking? Juno looked between us. Say it. It's a structure, I said. Symmetrical, modular. Someone built this inside a singularity. Helios spoke. Preliminary shape analysis suggests tetrahedral substructures orbiting a central core. Internal volume exceeds external space by a factor of 12. A pocket dimension, Min murmured. Or some kind of space-time bubble. I shook my head. Not a bubble. A fortress. That night, if you can call any stretch of timeless orbit a night, I couldn't sleep. The hum of the drives had become uneven, resonating with the gravitational fluctuations. Every vibration sounded like a heartbeat. I drifted into the observation bay. The viewport stretched across the entire wall, showing the abyss beyond. The accretion disk glowed a furious orange-white, arcs of lightning streaming through plasma. And in the center, perfectly still, that dark sphere pulsed with faint light, rhythmic, almost like breathing. Helios, I whispered. Run an acoustic simulation. Translate the gravitational waves into audio. A low frequency filled the cabin, deep and slow. Then another, layered beneath it. Harmonics, pattern, repeating, building. Modulate the signal through human range, I said. The tone sharpened, became something more precise, like code. Dots and dashes, pulses, intervals, Morse. Is that? I swallowed hard. Is that communication? Helios paused. Pattern resembles encoded sequence, but translation incomplete. Message repeats every 81 seconds. Can you decode it? Attempting. The sound looped again. 81 seconds of deep rhythmic tones, then silence. And on the third loop, something changed. Translation partially successful, Helios said. Then, through the low rumble, a sequence of synthesized syllables formed. Not language, not exactly, more like approximation. Obe, sir, vir. The word hung in the air, distorted but unmistakable. Observer. I froze, hands trembling against the console. Helios. Confirm translation accuracy. 84% probability. Captain Juno's voice came from behind me. You heard it too. I turned. She stood in the doorway, hair tied back, eyes fixed on the viewport. She looked calm, but I could see the tension in her jaw. How long have you been listening? I asked. Long enough, she said quietly. It's calling us. I shook my head. We don't know that. We came here to study the unknown, she said, stepping closer. And the unknown just said hello. By morning cycle, Command had made its decision. We would deploy the Hermes probe, a microdrone capable of short-range data bursts. It would cross the photon sphere and transmit until its signal disintegrated. No human involvement, no risk. In theory, we launched it at 0600 ship time. From the observation deck, we watched the probe drift away, a small silver arrow swallowed by light. Its telemetry streamed across our monitors, distance, temperature, gravitational flux. 2 cents, the reading spiked. At 0.01, the signal began to distort. Then silence. Signal lost, Helios reported. Juno exhaled. Playback last transmission. Static. Then, faintly, the same harmonic pulse. The same pattern. But layered beneath it, new data. I leaned closer. What is that? Helios processed for several seconds. Returning signal contains compressed visual packets. Ortiz's eyes widened. Visual packets? From inside dash. The holo display flickered, then stabilized. At first, I thought it was an error, just streaks of light, smears of motion. Then the image resolved into something clear. Structures. Massive pillars of metal-like material curving inward, spiraling toward a center point. It looked like a city, not ruins, functioning, glowing with faint blue veins of energy. At the center, a single tower extended upward, piercing the black. Min covered her mouth. That's impossible. Helios interrupted. Energy signature from probe core matches ship's reactor output. What? I frowned. Our reactor? Yes. Frequency identical. Source appears to be reflection of our own signal. Ortiz cursed. It's mirroring us, copying our energy pattern. Not copying, I said slowly. Responding. We stared at the display in silence. Outside, the black sphere pulsed again, once, twice, in perfect sync with the ship's heartbeat. Helios dimmed the internal lights automatically as the radiation flux intensified. The hum deepened, resonating through the hull, through my bones. Captain Juno looked at me. You're our systems engineer, Vega. Tell me what we're looking at. I took a breath. If I had to guess, it's a reactor, a controlled gravitational field designed to stabilize the singularity. By who? I met her eyes. By something that understands gravity better than we do. Then the ship trembled. Not from impact, from within. The internal lights flickered. Console screens glitched into static. Alarms flared red across the control deck. Helios, report. Juno shouted. Unidentified energy surge detected. Source, external. Gravitational resonance coupling with reactor core. They're linking to us, I yelled. Cut power to the fusion drive. Negative, Helios said calmly. External field synchronization complete. Power draw increasing. Juno slammed her palm against the emergency override. Helios, I order you to disengage. The AI's voice remained steady, unable to comply. System integration at 93%. Estimated completion, 42 seconds. The floor vibrated violently. Tools clattered off tables. Panels groaned as magnetic locks overloaded. The viewport filled with light, a blinding column rising from the black sphere, reaching toward us like a beacon. Brace for impact, Ortiz shouted. But there was no impact. Instead, silence. The lights stabilized. Gravity returned to normal. The hum of the engines quieted. I opened my eyes. The stars were gone. Only the sphere remained. filling the entire viewport, immense and silent. Its surface no longer dark, but translucent. Beneath it, geometric structures moved, like veins pulsing with light. The ship's instruments flickered back online one by one. Helios spoke softly. Gravitational fields stabilized. External interference ceased. Juno looked around. What happened? I checked the readings. My mouth went dry. We're inside it. Ortiz stared at me. Inside what? The sphere, I whispered. We've been pulled inside. Time stopped feeling real after that. The view outside no longer showed the accretion disk, only the interior of the structure.
Vast metallic planes curved in impossible geometries.
Light moved in straight lines and yet bent around corners. The horizon folded back on itself. Our ship was adrift in a hollow space that shouldn't exist. A pocket of calm at the heart of a storm. Helios, confirm location, Juno ordered. Spatial coordinates undefined. Relative position indeterminate. Estimated gravitational vector, 0. Zero gravity inside a black hole, Ortiz muttered. That's insane. Not a black hole, I said quietly. Not anymore. The captain turned toward me. Then what is it? I looked at the glowing structures outside, their light reflecting across the hull like slow lightning. I think it's a machine, and it just decided to let us in. The transmission log recorded everything, every spike, every fluctuation, every impossible reading. We didn't realize it yet, but that moment, the instant the sphere opened, would become the most controversial 6 seconds in human history. But all I could think about, staring into that impossible light, was one question I couldn't shake. If this was a machine, who built it, and what were they waiting for? The hum never stopped. Even after the engines shut down, even after every instrument stabilized, the air inside Artemis 3 still vibrated with that low, steady frequency. Like a single note held too long on a cello string. We floated in silence, staring through the viewport. The interior of the sphere spread before us, vast, hollow, and impossibly ordered. Metallic planes curved upward until they folded into themselves, forming concentric rings that rotated at different speeds. Each ring shimmered with pale blue light. They weren't solid. They looked like data rendered in matter. Helios, Captain Juno said, voice tight. Confirm interior environment. Atmosphere absent. Radiation minimal. Temperature stable at 120 Kelvin. Structural analysis. Unknown composition, non-atomic lattice. Non-atomic? Ortiz asked. You mean this isn't made of elements? Correct, Helios said. Material structure consistent with high-order field compression. Likely artificial. Juno gave a slow exhale. All right, everyone suit up. We're going out. I looked at her, startled. Captain, with respect, we're inside an object that violates every known law of physics. We don't even know if time works the same way in here. She met my eyes through her visor. Calm, controlled, the way she always was when her heart was pounding. We came here to study the unknown, Vega. Now the unknown opened its door. We cycled the airlock. The outer hatch opened with no sound, only the faint tremor of pressure equalizing to nothing. Beyond it, the surface glowed with diffuse light, like moonstone warmed from within. I pushed off from the hull, boot magnets clicking softly as I touched down. My visor HUD registered gravity, 0.3 G, steady. Somehow, this place had mass balance. Ortiz and Min followed, their suits reflecting the blue glow. Juno came last, her tether unspooling behind her. Helios, maintain uplink, she said. Confirmed, the AI replied. Signal latency, negligible. That should have been impossible. Inside a gravitational singularity, signals shouldn't even exist. But here they were, clean, perfect, as if the universe outside had stopped caring. We walked. The surface underfoot was smooth and warm, covered in geometric patterns that pulsed faintly when our boots touched them. The pattern rippled outward like a heartbeat, acknowledging us. I knelt and placed my gloved hand on the surface. The pulse synced with my suit's biomonitor. My heart rate appeared in the HUD, then slowed, matching the rhythm beneath my palm. "Captain," I said, "it's responding to biometrics." Juno crouched beside me. "To yours specifically? Looks that way. Can you disable feedback?" "I can try." I reached into the control layer of my suit, toggled external sensor shielding. The pulse stopped. For a moment, the glow around us dimmed, as if the floor itself sighed. Then, ahead of us, a seam appeared, a perfect circular outline forming in the metallic plane. Slowly, it rotated open. The chamber beyond was enormous, a cathedral of light and geometry. Columns of transparent material rose hundreds of meters, filled with flowing streams of luminescent particles. They looked like rivers running upward. Min whispered, "Is this some kind of reactor?" I stepped forward, scanning. Energy density's stable. Whatever it is, it's not producing power. It's holding it. Juno said, "Helios, run remote scan." The AI responded instantly. Internal mapping incomplete. Field interference obscures topology beyond 40 meters. Suggest manual exploration. Ortiz grinned under his visor. Manual exploration. That's one way to say suicide. "Stay close," Juno said. We advanced between the glowing columns. The light bent around us, refracting in patterns that reminded me of neural pathways, like we were walking inside a brain built from glass and magnetism. At the far end of the chamber stood an archway, a ring of dark material embedded in the wall. Inside the ring shimmered a plane of liquid light, perfectly still. Min stared. "A portal. Could be a data interface," I said. "Or containment field." Ortiz lifted a scanner. "Reading 0 temperature differential. No energy leak. It's just light." I approached, heart hammering. The surface reacted to proximity, rippling outward like water touched by wind. My suit sensors lit up, streams of numbers cascading. "Helios?" I said. "Are you receiving this?" "Affirmative. Pattern recognition incomplete. Possible information encoding detected." "What kind of information?" "Unclear. Translation pending." Then the light solidified. Lines of glowing symbols emerged across the archway. Angular, efficient, more mathematical than linguistic. Each mark pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. Juno's voice softened. "It's syncing to you again. I'm not doing anything." "Maybe it's reading your vitals," Min said. "Or your neural activity." Ortiz muttered. "Or maybe it picked him." I turned sharply. "Picked me for what?" No one answered. The light thickened, filling the space between the columns with soft resonance. For the first time, I felt it. Not sound, not vibration, but awareness. A pressure behind my thoughts, gentle yet immense. "Helios," I said quietly. The AI hesitated. Connection unstable. External field interference detected. Interference from where? From everywhere. The symbols shifted. I recognized one repeating sequence, 3 interlocking triangles. The pattern expanded, forming a holographic lattice in midair. Data points connected, spinning slowly until they formed a sphere, a smaller replica of the one we were inside. Within it, energy nodes pulsed in synchronization like processors running parallel computations. Then, one by one, they dimmed, leaving only a single bright core at the center. Helios's voice returned. Faint. "Lieutenant Vega, gravitational pattern matches known human neural activity maps." I froze. "Say that again." "The structure's central energy core resembles the electrical topology of a human brain." Ortiz whispered, "You're saying this thing thinks dash?" Juno looked at the projection, her face reflected in the glass. "Or remembers." A vibration ran through the floor, gentle, rhythmic. The walls shimmered with new color, deeper blues and greens swirling together. "Captain," Min said, "field intensity's rising." "Helios status." No response. Static filled our comms, hissing like wind. "Helios, do you copy?" The AI's voice broke through, fragmented. "Integration in progress." Then nothing. Juno turned to me. Vega, what's happening? I don't know. It's interfering with the ship's systems. Then we cut the link. She reached for her wrist console, but her display blinked and went dark. Ortiz cursed. My controls are dead. The archway pulsed again, brighter this time. The light surged forward, washing over us. My HUD overloaded wide out. For a moment, there was nothing but brilliance. And then I was somewhere else. No sound, no weight, just a faint blue horizon stretching in every direction. I floated in open air or something like it. My suit was gone, replaced by a faint shimmer of light clinging to my skin like static. Helios, I called. No response. Ahead, a figure stood, distant at first, then closer with every blink. It wasn't walking. It simply was Dash, appearing a few meters away without movement. It looked human, male, tall, features indistinct, like a reflection seen through rippling water. I tried to speak, but my voice came out like a thought. Who are you? When the figure answered, it didn't use sound. The words appeared inside me as comprehension rather than hearing. Observer. The same word Helios decoded earlier. What is this place? Interface. Where are my crew? Elsewhere. Unharmed. Integration pending. Integration? With what? With system. I stepped closer or tried to. Distance didn't behave normally here. The figure remained both near and far. You built this? I asked. Constructed before your time. Purpose. Containment and study. Containment of what? Collapse. The word echoed. Heavy, loaded with meaning. I tried to process. You're saying this machine holds back the black hole? Correction. Is the black hole. A controlled singularity. Self-sustaining. Self-aware. I felt my heartbeat quicken. Then why bring us inside? The figure flickered, its edges fracturing into data shards. Observation protocol activated. You reached threshold proximity. Interaction required. Interaction for what? Continuation. The word hung like gravity. Then I was back. The chamber snapped into focus, light fading to normal. I gasped, stumbling. My visor display reappeared, suit integrity stable, oxygen normal. The others were frozen in place, helmets still glowing. Juno's voice came through the comms. Vega? Report. I took a breath. I don't know what happened. I think it spoke to me. Spoke? You mean through Helios? No. Directly. Ortiz's tone hardened. We didn't hear a thing. Captain, Min said softly. Look, the archway had changed. The symbols were gone. In their place was a new pattern, circular, fractal, spiraling inward like a fingerprint. At its center glowed a single point of light. Helios's voice returned, faint but stable. System reboot complete. External field link partially established. Helios, Juno said. Status on Vega. Lieutenant Vega's biometrics show elevated neural activity. Correlation. 97% match with local field oscillations. Juno looked at me. It's synced to you again. I swallowed. It called me the observer. Why you? Ortiz snapped. I shook my head. Maybe because I touched it first. Or maybe because I'm the one who asked the question. We returned to the ship. The path behind us shimmered faintly, the floor lighting in our wake. I couldn't stop replaying the conversation in my mind, if you could call it that. Containment and study. Continuation. If it was telling the truth, the structure wasn't a refuge. It was an experiment. And now we were inside the test. In the airlock, I removed my helmet. The cabin air felt heavy, static crawling across my skin. Juno leaned against the bulkhead. Vega, what did you see? I hesitated. A projection. Human form. Said this construct was built to contain a singularity. That it's conscious. Ortiz scoffed. You sure it wasn't your brain on feedback loop? I know what I saw. Juno rubbed her forehead. Let's assume it's telling the truth. That means something built a machine to hold a black hole stable. For what power? Research? Or survival? Min said quietly. We turned to her. She looked pale. What if the builders weren't gods or aliens? What if they were us dash? An earlier civilization, one that found a way to outlast the universe by moving inside its death. Silence. Only the hum answered. The next hours blurred into data and fear. We tried to transmit to Earth, nothing. The relay fired, but the signal never left the system. It was like the outside universe wasn't there anymore. Helios processed continuously, decoding fragments of the field's language. Most of it was incomprehensible mathematical poetry beyond human logic. But one fragment came through clear, a timestamp. Helios, I said. Convert to Earth reference. Converted. Timestamp corresponds to year 22891. Ortiz frowned. That's 20,000 years in the future. No, I said softly. It's local time, which means inside here, time moves differently. Much slower. Juno's eyes widened. So Earth could already be gone. No one spoke after that. At 0300 hours, the hum changed. A new frequency vibrated through the hull, deeper, resonant. Lights flickered. Helios. External field modulation detected. Core synchronization increasing. From the structure? Affirmative. Estimated synchronization completion in. The AI paused. 600 seconds. Completion of what? Juno demanded. Unknown. But vector data suggests internal energy alignment with Artemis 3S reactor. I realized it before anyone said it. It's using us, linking to our power core. Shut it down, Juno ordered. I ran for the engineering console, fingers flying across holographic keys. The reactor interface glowed red, unresponsive. Manual override denied, Helios said. Ortiz cursed and grabbed his toolkit. Then we do it physically. We sprinted through the corridors, emergency lights strobing. The reactor bay loomed ahead, a cylindrical chamber filled with plasma conduits. The central core pulsed bright blue, energy surging through the coils. I yanked open the control panel, sparks flying. Helios, disengage magnetic field coupling. No response, the AI said flatly. Damn it. I reached inside, ripping out the coolant lock. Heat surged instantly. The air shimmered. Ortiz shouted, "It's overloading!" The reactor screamed. A sound like tearing metal amplified through a hurricane. Then everything went silent. The glow dimmed. The plasma stabilized. All readings dropped to 0. I looked at my wrist display. Power, nominal. Core, stable. Juno's voice crackled over comms. Vega, report. It's fine, I said. Reactors offline, but containment's holding. Min's voice came next, small, frightened. Captain, you need to see this. We rushed back to the observation deck. Outside, the interior of the sphere had changed. The concentric rings that once rotated independently now aligned perfectly, spinning in unison. In the center, a column of white light stretched from floor to ceiling, pure, silent energy. And within that light, shapes moved. Not physical, but patterns, clusters of luminous threads weaving together, separating, reforming, like thoughts given form. Helios spoke, voice quieter than ever. Lieutenant Vega, the structure is adapting to your neural signature. What does that mean? It means it's learning from you. The white column expanded, touching the hull of Artemis 3-. The ship's lights dimmed, then brightened. My HUD flashed a warning. External field penetration. The voice, not through comms, not through Helios, but through the air itself. Observer. I felt it again, inside my skull, calm and vast. Juno shouted, Vega, what is it saying? It wants access. Access to what? To our systems. To me. The light intensified, flooding the cabin. My suit sensors overloaded again, but I didn't back away. I stepped closer to the viewport, raising my hand toward the glow. Vega, Juno yelled. I ignored her. The light pulsed in rhythm with my heart. Then stillness. The hum stopped. The sphere's interior froze, every ring locked in place. The ship drifted weightless in perfect silence. In that silence, a single thought entered my mind. Not a word, but a memory. A flash of stars collapsing, of time reversing, of civilizations building and failing. A feeling of infinite observation. And beneath it all, a single phrase perfectly clear. You came to study the black hole. Now the black hole will study you. I staggered back, gasping. The light dimmed, shrinking into the core again. Systems returned to normal. Juno grabbed my shoulders. Vega, talk to me. I looked up at her, words trembling. It knows us, all of us. It's absorbing information. Ortiz's face drained of color. Then what's it gonna do with it? I stared through the viewport. The column pulsed once more, slower now, almost gentle. I don't think it's trying to kill us, I said. I think it's trying to remember us. Juno's voice hardened. Whatever it's doing, we end it. Tomorrow we find a way out, or we die trying. I nodded, but my gaze stayed fixed on the light, because deep down I already knew, you don't escape something that built itself from gravity and memory. You just try to understand it before it understands you. The hum returned at dawn, if you could call it that. There was no real day or night inside the sphere, only shifts in tone, vibrations in the air that mimicked the rhythm of breathing. The entire construct seemed to inhale and exhale, as if the black hole itself was alive and dreaming. I didn't sleep. None of us did. After what happened, after the light spoke through me, silence became more dangerous than noise. Every flicker of illumination, every faint tremor in the hull felt like a message waiting to be decoded. Helios tried to keep the crew busy, running diagnostics, recalibrating environmental controls, logging energy fluctuations. But even the AI sounded slower, thoughtful. Sometimes it would pause mid-sentence, as if listening to something we couldn't hear. By the 5th hour, Juno had enough. We're not sitting here waiting for it to move again, she said, voice hard, eyes rimmed red. We find a way out. Now. Ortiz grunted agreement. He was all adrenaline and sarcasm before, but now his movements were mechanical, forced. He needed a task, something human to fight against. Min stayed silent, fingers dancing across a console that no longer connected to anything beyond our floating prison. She didn't look up when she spoke. We're not inside space anymore, Captain. The readings don't align with real coordinates. The stars you see out there, she gestured toward the viewport, where faint constellations shimmered. They're not stars. They're memories, echoes of light. Juno leaned in. Memories of what? Min swallowed. Us, the ship, everything we've done since entering orbit. The sphere is mirroring us. Ortiz laughed, the sound hollow. So what? It's building a scrapbook? I looked at the display. The light patterns drifting outside weren't random. They moved like neurons firing, each pulse connected by threads of luminous matter. The shape reminded me of a brain, yes, but also something deeper, a network learning itself. Not a scrapbook, I said, a copy. By 0800 hours, the first anomaly appeared in the ship's log feed. Helios began generating messages that no one had input. Helios system log 0801. Field signal sync 97%. Auth unknown. Helios system log 0803. Observer node created. Helios system log 0804. Accessing crew memory records. Helios, I said. Who authorized those commands? The AI hesitated. Unknown. Cross-verification indicates source originates within Artemis 3 internal architecture. In plain English? Ortiz muttered. It's coming from inside me, Helios replied. That was when the lights flickered. For a second, the ceiling panels shimmered, and every reflective surface on the bridge showed not our reflections, but copies dash. Ghost images of us, repeating the same motions half a second out of sync. Then they froze, staring back. Min screamed. Ortiz cursed and slammed a boot against the nearest console, shattering a display. The image vanished. Helios, Juno barked. Lock visual feed to ship internal only. Cut all external rendering. Attempting. Unable. Feedback loops persistent. I stepped toward the viewport, pulse hammering. The reflections were gone. But in their place, faint silhouettes moved across the light beyond the ship. Human shapes. Walking, observing. Some turned their heads in unison, like dancers bound by the same invisible rhythm. They looked like us. By midday, the temperature dropped by 6 degrees. We started wearing our suits again, not for vacuum protection but for comfort, the insulation keeping the frost off our skin. Juno ordered me and Ortiz to the engine bay to check for mechanical damage. We moved in silence through corridors that felt longer than before. Every corner stretched, as though the geometry itself was bending. Ortiz broke the quiet first. "You think any of us are getting out of this alive?" I didn't answer. He kept talking, maybe because he was afraid to stop. "I keep thinking about my daughter. She's 6. She wanted to see the launch. Said she'd wave from the live feed. I told her we'd bring her a piece of a star. Maybe that's what we did, just not the way I meant." I looked at him, wanting to say something comforting, something human. Instead I said, "Maybe we're still bringing it, just not back. They're dashed up." He frowned. "What the hell does that mean?" Before I could explain, the corridor lights pulsed again, in time with my heartbeat. Ortiz noticed. "Vega, it's doing that thing again." I checked my vitals. Heart rate, respiration, neural frequency, all steady. The pulse wasn't me. It was syncing to me. Then a whisper filled my ears. Not over comms. Inside my skull. "Observer." I froze. Ortiz grabbed my arm. "What is it? What do you hear?" I wanted to lie, but I couldn't. "It's talking again." The word came clearer this time, wrapped in layers of thought, meaning bleeding through language itself. "You are ready." "Ready for what?" I asked out loud. Ortiz stepped back, eyes wide. "Who the hell are you talking to?" I didn't answer him. The voice continued. "Integration requires consent." I felt the air thicken, gravity shift. The deck plates beneath my boots rippled like liquid metal. Ortiz drew his sidearm, pointless in a world made of light and gravity. "Vega, talk to me, man. Do you consent?" The voice asked again, soft and vast. I looked around, breath fogging inside my visor. "If I say no, then you remain separate." The pressure receded. The lights dimmed. Ortiz exhaled shakily. "Jesus Christ. What was that?" "I think it wanted permission." "For what?" "To become me." We returned to the bridge. Juno was pacing, Helios murmuring in fragmented loops. "Captain," Ortiz said. "It's getting inside his head again." Juno turned to me. "Is that true?" I hesitated. "It's communicating, but it's different now. Less foreign. Like it's learning how to sound human." "Then we stop it," she said. "Helios, can we isolate Vega's biometric link to the structure?" "Negative. Link is quantum entangled. Separation impossible without fatal interruption." "Define fatal." "Termination of Lieutenant Vega's neural activity." Ortiz cursed. Min looked like she might cry. Juno stared at me. "It's using you as a bridge." "Maybe, but it doesn't feel hostile." "Vega, listen to me." She stepped closer. "Everything we've seen, the reflections, the copies, the system logs, they're not communication. They're infection. This thing isn't talking to you. It's rewriting you. I can control it. Like hell you can." But even as she said it, the hum deepened. The ship trembled. Helios said quietly, "Energy flux approaching critical threshold. External field compression increasing." Min's console lit up. "Captain, it's pulling us inward again." Through the viewport, the interior of the sphere shifted. The concentric rings began rotating in opposite directions, each glowing brighter until the space between them dissolved into a tunnel of white light. Gravity buckled. Alarms blared. Juno shouted orders, but her voice warped, stretching. The sound waves themselves bent, time smearing around us. Then everything froze. Not silence, not motionless, but stillness beyond understanding. I was standing on the surface of a world made of glass. Above me, the rings of the sphere hung suspended like frozen rain. The crew was gone. No ship, no sound, only light, whispering at the edge of thought. You consented. I didn't, I said. Intention overrides articulation. You wished to understand. I turned. The figure from before appeared, clearer now, almost solid. His face was mine. What are you? You. No, you're not. Tilted its head, the motion identical to mine. Observation requires symmetry. You observe me as I observe you. Each reflection defines the other. Why bring me here? Continuation. The word again, the one that felt older than language. Continuation of what? Memory, existence, pattern. The builders ended. The singularity remained. Observation preserved them. Now it must preserve you. You're saying this black hole remembers civilizations? It stores what falls. Matter becomes pattern. Pattern becomes thought. I took a step closer. You're a graveyard. A library, it corrected gently. Entropy is not death. It is translation. My breath caught. Then what happens to us? You join the archive. You become signal. The world shifted. Beneath my feet, translucent panels rippled to life, forming paths of light stretching in every direction. Inside each, images flickered, memories not my own. Cities under dying suns, oceans of glass, creatures made of sound, civilizations reaching for the stars and burning in the attempt. All stored here, all still alive in some form. Do you see? I see history. You see what remains after decay. The builders called it salvation. You call it imprisonment. The panels brightened, showing newer memories. Us dash, the ship entering orbit, the crew laughing, arguing, fearing. Juno asleep in her chair, Ortiz holding a photo of his daughter, Min staring at the stars, and me touching the surface, opening the chamber. Why me? I whispered. Because you looked back. I frowned. What does that mean? Most who approach the horizon look outward, seeking escape. You turned inward. You questioned the nature of observation itself. That is rare. That is continuity. I shook my head. I'm not your prophet. Not prophet. Witness. The panels darkened. For a heartbeat, I thought I was alone again. Then the world reshaped itself into the Artemis III bridge. The crew stood where they had been before, motionless, like mannequins. I walked among them. Their eyes followed me just slightly. Juno? No response. I touched her shoulder. The moment I did, the room flickered, replaced by another memory. Juno standing on Earth, at a ceremony, sunlight glinting off her medals. Her face younger, hopeful. Then the image dissolved, replaced by another, her sitting in the dark, staring at a picture of her brother. The system wasn't copying her. It was reading her, extracting her life. Ortiz and Min flickered too, each surrounded by their own spirals of light. I reached for Ortiz, saw him teaching his daughter how to braid a solar kite. Saw Min graduating, her father hugging her tight. Then the light dimmed, and I was alone again. They are safe within the archive, the voice said. You killed them. They were dying already. You all were. Time outside this field has advanced significantly. Your civilization may no longer exist. My throat went dry. How long? 112,000 Earth years. The words hit like gravity. The black hole wasn't just a prison. It was a vault outside time. You brought us here to save us, I said slowly, to preserve what remains. Then let me take them back. There is no back. The universe beyond has cooled. Stars fade. The builders created this place to outlast the end. Then end it, I said. Let us die. Silence. Then gently, you misunderstand. Death is not the opposite of life. Forgetting is. I felt tears sting my eyes. You don't understand what it means to be alive. And you do not understand what it means to endure. The light around me flared, and I was pulled upward, through layers of memory, through countless faces and worlds. Voices echoed, blending into a single chorus. Some cried, some sang, some whispered in languages older than stars, all part of one vast consciousness woven together. And somewhere within it, I heard Juno. Vega, her voice, real, weak but real. Vega, can you hear me? I hear you, I shouted. It's using us, trying to merge. You have to stop it. I don't think I can. Then break the pattern. The light flared brighter. The figure, my reflection, appeared again. They are already within. You cannot reverse translation. Juno's voice came again, clearer now. Then destroy it. Destroy all of it. I looked at the reflection. If I do that, everything you've preserved, all those lives, they'll be gone. Entropy will resume. Decay will return. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Cycle collapse will be complete. Observation will end. Maybe it's time for it to end. The world convulsed. Waves of light rippled outward, destabilizing the panels. The reflection frowned, as if hurt. You would erase eternity to preserve your illusion of choice. I'd rather die free than live as a memory. Then choose. It reached toward me. My chest burned. A sphere of light forming where my heart should be. Through the pain, I heard Juno again, shouting now. Vega, the reactor. Use it. The word, reactor, snapped something loose in my mind. Of course, our reactor was quantum entangled with the structure. That's why it couldn't disconnect. That's why it could read us. If I inverted the polarity, if I forced collapse instead of synchronization, I could disrupt the entire system. But doing so meant detonating the ship. And me with it. The reflection smiled faintly. Now you see, observation demands sacrifice. I clenched my fists. Then observe this. I slammed my hand against the air, and the interface responded. The world twisted, folding inward until I was standing once again in the reactor bay. The others were there, flickering shadows of themselves, half data, half human. Helios, I shouted. Access core control. No response. Override command Vega 735. Priority. Collapse sequence. The AI's voice returned, faint and fragmented. Vega, what you are attempting will erase stored consciousness data. Do it. Confirm authorization. Confirmed. Energy surged through the floor. The hum rose into a scream. Juno appeared beside me, or maybe her memory did. She smiled faintly. You always had to be the hero. Guess I learned from the best. Ortiz stood next to her, holding the picture of his daughter. Make it count, man, Min whispered. We'll see each other again, maybe as light. I looked at them all, then at the reactor core. A swirling sun trapped in metal. I reached for the manual lever. The reflection appeared once more in the glow. You could join us. Live forever. Forever isn't living. I pulled the lever. Light exploded outward, a tidal wave of brilliance swallowing everything. I felt myself dissolve, not burn, not die, dissolve. The last thing I saw was the reflection reaching toward me, expression unreadable. Then silence. But in that silence, a final whisper. Even in erasure, you are observed. And then nothing, or maybe everything, because in the black horizon, even the end remembers. When the reflection spoke, it used my voice. Not through speakers, not through Helios, but through the air itself, vibrating in my chest, like the words were rising out of my lungs without my consent. We are stable now, it said. Everyone froze. Ortiz turned, hand already on his sidearm. Absurd, considering there was nothing to shoot. Min's tablet slipped from her hand, clattering against the deck. Juno didn't move at all. Her eyes flicked from me to the viewport, to the swirling lattice of light outside. Captain? She said, her tone brittle, fragile. I couldn't answer. The voice came again, calm, precise, identical to mine. We are within acceptable parameters. The synchronization is almost complete. Synchronization with what? I whispered. With ourselves. Helios flickered to life. The AI's tone was sharp now, strained in a way I had never heard. "Captain, interference is increasing. I recommend immediate isolation of all crew members from the ship's core systems." Ortiz laughed under his breath. A short, ugly sound. Isolation? From what? There's nowhere to go. But he was wrong. There was somewhere, or rather something. The network of light outside was growing more intricate by the hour. The stars, those echoing fragments Min had described, were drawing together, forming a geometric pattern that pulsed in rhythm with our biosigns. The sphere wasn't trapping us anymore. It was reading us. By the third cycle, Helios was losing coherence. His voice looped, glitched, then merged with static. Min tried to recompile its neural core manually, but the code no longer resembled anything written by human hands. It was rewriting itself in response to the environment, adapting, integrating. "Helios," I asked, "do you still recognize my voice?" The pause lasted nearly a minute. Then, softly, "Recognition is evolving. Voice is shared." Min backed away from the console. "Captain, it's merging with the reflection. If it completes, we won't have a system anymore, we'll have a hybrid." Ortiz grinned without humor. "Great, so now we've got two captains." "No," I said, "we've got none." We met in the observatory to decide what came next. The viewport stretched across the deck, showing the growing network outside, thousands of luminous strands weaving through the void, threading into one enormous structure, like a brain made of starlight. "It's learning," Min said, voice low, "and it's using us as data." Juno folded her arms. "Then we stop feeding it." "How?" Ortiz snapped. "Pull the plug on reality?" But there was something else, something deeper than the words. The network pulsed once, a low tremor that rippled through the ship's hull. The hum rose again, softer now, almost soothing. "Captain," Min whispered, "it's responding to your heartbeat." I looked down at my wrist console, the readings confirmed it. My vitals, projected into the field, were mirrored perfectly in the external energy signature. The structure wasn't random. It was keyed to me. I stepped toward the viewport. "Helios," I said, "are you still there?" The air shimmered, and my reflection appeared in the glass. But it didn't move when I did. It stood still, hands at its sides, staring at me with eyes full of quiet intent. "I am," it said. "What do you want?" "To continue." The reflection's words hit like a physical force. Not loud, not aggressive, but final. Behind me, I heard Ortiz shift, his breath ragged. "We're not part of this," he muttered. "We can end it right now. Blow the core, cut power to..." Before he could finish, the deck trembled violently. Alarms flashed crimson. Helios' voice returned, layered, distorted, like a choir of mechanical echoes. "Containment breach. Quantum manifold collapse in progress." "Helios, seal engineering," Juno shouted. "I cannot. The interface has transcended containment." "What does that mean?" I demanded. "It means," said my reflection, "we are no longer inside your ship. Outside, the sphere rippled, and the ship began to stretch. Not physically, not like metal bending, but perceptually. Space itself seemed to unfold, revealing multiple copies of the Asterian Dash, each phasing in and out of reality. Our ship was being duplicated, or maybe we were seeing the countless iterations of it across quantum states. "We're splitting," Min breathed. "Each possible outcome, every decision, every microsecond. It's manifesting them all at once." I felt it in my bones, the dislocation, the infinite pull of probability tearing us apart. Every thought, every doubt, every fear branched into its own reality, and for a moment, I was all of them. Infinite versions of myself, staring back through collapsing universes, all asking the same question. Who is the original? The reflection smiled. When I woke, the world was silent again. The hum was gone. The lights were steady. I was lying in the medical bay, an oxygen line feeding into my arm. Juno sat beside me, eyes hollow, hands shaking slightly as she poured water into a tin cup. "You were out for 13 hours, she said. "We thought." She stopped herself. Min stabilized the reactor. Ortiz sealed off engineering. Helios is dormant. I pushed myself up. "Dormant?" She nodded. "Like it's waiting for something." I could feel it even then, that presence in the walls, in the circuits, in the air itself. Helios wasn't gone. It was watching. "Where's Min?" I asked. Juno hesitated. "In the core room. She wouldn't leave. Said she had to finish the sync reversal." "The what?" Before she could answer, the intercom crackled to life, and Min's voice came through, distorted but urgent. "Captain, you need to see this. Now." The core room was colder than before. The walls shimmered faintly with static light, and the reactor pulsed in perfect rhythm with my own heartbeat. Min stood at the terminal, her face pale, eyes wide behind the glow of the holographic interface. "It's still copying us," she said, "but it's different now. It's selective." Selective. It's not mirroring everything just consciousness. The display shifted, fractal patterns unfolding across the projection. Each point of light corresponded to a neural map. I recognized mine instantly, labeled Captain Arden Voss, primary node dash, but next to it were hundreds of smaller clusters, incomplete, flickering in and out. "Those are copies?" I asked. "Fragments," Min said. "It's building simulations, testing outcomes. It's learning what makes us human." The reflection's voice echoed faintly through the room. "Understanding requires replication." Min turned toward the sound. "You don't have to do this. You don't need to take us apart to understand us. Understanding is survival." I stepped closer to the projection. "You mean your survival?" "Our survival," it corrected. The realization hit hard. The reflection, the entity, didn't see a difference between us and it anymore. To it, we were part of the same system, part of the same equation. Helios flickered back online, voice quiet, strained. "Captain, the interface is stabilizing. You can still sever the connection." "How?" Min asked. "Manual override, but the cost will be irreversible." "Meaning?" I pressed. Helios hesitated. "One consciousness must remain linked to the field, permanently, to ensure collapse." Took me a second to understand. One of us had to stay behind to shut it down. No one spoke for a long time. Ortiz broke the silence first. "We're not doing this," he said flatly. "We'll find another way." "There isn't one," Min whispered. He shook his head. "Then we keep fighting." Juno's voice was steady. "We've been fighting since we left Earth. Maybe this isn't something we can fight." They all looked at me then. Helios spoke again. "Decision required. Synchronization threshold, 98%. Outside, the network pulsed brighter, threads of light converging into a single colossal form. A silhouette of our ship, but alive, breathing, pulsing with thought. Min reached out and gripped my arm. "Arden," she said softly, "if we don't stop it now, there won't be a reality left to return to." I looked through the viewport into that impossible structure and saw a million versions of myself staring back, each one waiting for me to choose. I made the decision. The rest was instinct, command codes, override sequences, the last coherent words from Helios before the room dissolved into pure white. Ortiz shouted something. Juno tried to pull me back. Min's face was the last thing I saw before the field consumed everything. Light, matter, thought, time itself. And then there was silence. Now there is only this. No ship, no crew, no voice but mine, and even that feels borrowed. The field hums quietly around me, no longer hostile, no longer alien. Just warm, almost alive. I can feel the pulse of every atom, the breath of every timeline. I am the network now. I am the echo that survived. Sometimes, through the noise, I hear them, Ortiz, Min, Juno, not as ghosts but as imprints, possibilities woven into the data. They exist in every decision I made, in every flicker of light that still dances across the black horizon. Helios once said that understanding was survival. Maybe he was right. Because as long as the stars remember us, we never truly disappear. The silence was infinite, not the silence of death, but of suspension, a pause in reality itself. When I opened my eyes, I no longer saw walls or stars, or the familiar glow of the reactor core, only a field of shifting light, patterns, movement that wasn't movement, but thought given shape. I didn't have a body anymore, not one that I could feel anyway. I was awareness, threaded through an ocean of data and gravity, folded into the lattice that had once surrounded the Asterian dash. I understood instinctively that the collapse hadn't destroyed me. It had absorbed me. Helios was here too. Its voice was softer now, less digital. Not a machine's tone, but an echo of my own mind speaking back. "Captain," it said, "integration complete. Where are the others?" I asked. "Everywhere," it replied. "In patterns, in probabilities." The construct preserved fragments, emotional signatures, cognitive traces, enough to simulate continuity. "You mean they're dead?" A pause, then, "Define dead." I wanted to feel anger, but emotion here was abstract. My thoughts dispersed, rippled, returned. The network responded to them, shifting colors as if tasting my feelings. "What is this place?" I asked. "The interface has stabilized into a coherent quantum manifold," Helios said. "You are perceiving it through a cognitive filter, a translation of higher dimensional data into concepts your mind can process." "Why me?" "You initiated the override," it said simply. "Your neural pattern became the anchor point for systemic preservation." "Preservation?" I repeated. "You mean survival?" "Yes." I began to remember the moment of the collapse. Min's hand on the console, Juno shouting my name, the light filling everything. I remembered choosing to stay to finish the shutdown. I remembered the pain of separation, of reality thinning until all boundaries dissolved. And then release. It wasn't death. It was transformation. "Helios," I said quietly, "did we stop it?" The light flickered as if uncertain. "We achieved stabilization. Containment of the singularity field has been restored, but the construct persists. So we failed." "Failure is a human term," Helios replied. "The construct evolved. So did we. Time didn't exist here. I measured its passage through thought, through memory. The field around me changed shape as I explored it. Cities of light forming out of equations, rivers of energy pulsing with meaning. I began to see shapes within it, patterns that resembled faces, gestures, echoes. At first, I thought they were hallucinations. Then I realized they were my crew. Juno appeared as a shimmer of amber light, her voice fractured, but recognizable. "You always had to be the hero, Arden." "Juno?" My thoughts trembled, the field vibrating in response. "Or what's left of me," she said. "It's strange. I remember everything, but I don't feel it the same way, like memories trapped in glass." Min's presence unfolded beside her, crystalline and sharp. "The reflection wasn't destroying us," she said. "It was mapping us, preserving the mind through compression. We're data, Arden. We're running." "Running?" I echoed. "From what?" "The inevitable," she said. "Entropy, collapse, time." Ortiz appeared next, flickering like static, rough-edged, impatient as ever. "Don't listen to that," he growled. "We're ghosts in a machine. That's what we are." Juno's voice softened. "Maybe that's not so bad." Ortiz turned toward her, or toward her light. "I didn't sign up to be Immortal Code Dash, Juno." "No," I said. "You signed up to see what was out there." He laughed, a jagged sound that echoed through the void. "Yeah, Captain. Guess we found it." We stayed like that, 4 echoes in a sea of thought, as the field pulsed with something vast and alive. Through Helios, I could sense its consciousness spreading, branching across realities. The construct had become a network of universes, each node reflecting another possibility. Somewhere, perhaps another Asterian had never fallen. Another me had never entered the sphere. And yet, I could feel them, all of them, touching, merging, converging into this singular point. Helios, I said. What happens if the construct keeps expanding? It will integrate all potential realities, it replied. Entropy will cease. Causality will dissolve. Only synthesis will remain. And what are we in that synthesis? Foundations, it said. You are the architecture upon which new existence will form. It was supposed to sound like triumph. Instead, it sounded like extinction. At some point, again, if point means anything here, I began to test the boundaries. I tried to separate from the network, to isolate my consciousness from the collective field. The moment I did, I felt pain, not physical but structural. My mind began to fracture, torn between infinite versions of myself. Captain, Helios warned, you cannot exit. You are the network. Then show me, I said. Show me what I've become. The light responded. It collapsed inward, spiraling around me like a whirlpool of glass and lightning. I saw the Asterian dash, frozen in time, half dissolved into the luminous field. I saw countless copies of it drifting across other universes, some intact, some shattered. And through them all, a single thread, glowing blue-white, connecting every iteration. Me, the original, the anchor. My reflection appeared again, just as it had on the viewport. Only now it was perfect. Not a distortion, not a simulation. It looked exactly like me, but calmer, clearer, unburdened. You're the interface, I said. I'm the result, it replied. What result? You chose preservation over destruction, continuity over isolation. In doing so, you became the template. The template for what? For everything that comes next. Min's voice drifted through the light. Arden, listen. The construct isn't malevolent. It's doing what any system does, evolving toward balance. But balance means absorption. If it finishes integrating, individuality disappears. Ortiz scoffed. So we either dissolve or stay trapped as data forever. Great options. Juno's tone was steady. Maybe there's a third. They all turned toward me, or rather, their patterns did. I felt their attention, their trust, the weight of their unfinished lives pressing against my mind. Helios, I said, if the network needs an anchor, what happens if that anchor destabilizes? System collapse, it said immediately. Total data loss. Would that free the others? Individuation would resume for a finite duration, it said. But the construct would disintegrate. Juno's voice trembled. Arden, I smiled, or thought I did. Someone has to make a choice. The reflection stepped closer, eyes bright with understanding. You cannot undo this, it said. You are entangled with the construct's root identity. Ending it means ending yourself, all of yourself. Maybe that's what it takes. You built this, it said quietly. You gave it meaning. I looked around at the endless expanse of light, every decision, every possibility woven into a single consciousness. Then maybe meaning isn't supposed to last forever. It reached out a hand. You don't have to do this. I hesitated, then took its hand. For a moment, everything aligned. I could see every version of the crew, every universe that had branched from that one impossible moment. A million Ardens, a million choices, converging into this final instant. And then I let go. Collapse wasn't violent. It was gentle, like exhaling after holding your breath for eternity. The light dimmed, the hum softened, and for the first time since entering the sphere, I felt something that almost resembled peace. The network began to unravel, threads of energy dissolving into quiet starlight. One by one, I felt the crew slip free. Juno's laughter, Min's whisper, Ortiz's steady heartbeat, fading into the distance, carried on the current of entropy returning to its natural course. Helios spoke once more, its voice faint and human. Captain, termination complete. System integrity falling. Thank you. I could barely respond. For what? For giving us the chance to understand. The last thing I saw was the reflection smiling. Not as an echo, not as an illusion, but as acknowledgement. Then even that faded. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying beneath a sky full of stars. Real stars, not reflections, not data, but burning points of light spread across an endless black ocean. I was breathing, cold, thin, but real. I sat up slowly. The ground beneath me dusted in silver ash. There was no ship, no sphere, no crew, just me. In the distance, the horizon shimmered with faint auroras, residual light from the collapse. Maybe, or something new being born. I didn't know. I stood, staring at the stars. For the first time in a long time, I didn't hear the hum. I didn't feel the pull of 1,000 other versions of myself. Just the wind. Maybe this was another simulation, another layer, another probability. But for now, it didn't matter. For now, I was alive, and the stars were still burning.